Stop skipping. Stop skipping. Please behave. Don't. Please stop skipping. No. You copper golems! Am I right, though? I know y'all are feeling my pain. What's up, everyone? I'm N.Cinerate. Welcome to the channel. We're all fed up and frustrated with these copper golems, so let's get to fixing that problem. Let me give you a quick rundown of why this build and this method is the solution to your copper golem woes in Bedrock Edition. So what is the deal with these things? And what is that elephant in the room? Chest skipping. That's why you came, is it not? And what about the rest? They're slow, they're not consistent in general, 3x3 modules fail when stacked, not to mention all the cramming and blocking issues. Please don't tell me I have to use minecarts for this. Well, I've got a way to solve all of that. This method results in 0 skip chests, it's fully stackable and extendable, utilizes multi-golem sorting, keeps waxing your golems smooth and consistent, of course uses no redstone, and woo, uses 0 minecarts. So here are all of the items that you're going to need for this build. The items on the left here are items that are essential to the build. It won't function correctly without them. Note that there is a single copper chest included in the materials that you will need to pre-craft and bring along with you before you begin the build. You'll need 68 decorative blocks of your choice for the foundation of your build. You'll be needing some temporary blocks for this build. About a stack and a half of full blocks and about a half a stack of slabs will do. These are for your chutes to deploy your golems, a temporary working platform, and to use as temporary blocks in the beginning of the build to simplify things. Lastly, you'll need some light source blocks. Use whatever you prefer, as long as the light level is sufficient to keep mobs from spawning in your build. Here's the footprint, 1 block below ground, and space above to allow the top chest to open. Dig out this far to allow room for your aesthetic blocks. Then cover that space with the aesthetic block of your choice. If you like this tutorial, then don't miss the next one. Smash those like and subscribe buttons. It helps the channel, and it makes the algorithm think that I know what I'm doing. Place your first double chest at the green check marks. Then complete your first line of chests in the format illustrated. With that much done, we can move around to the back of our build and start on the rest. The simplest way to do this is to place temporary placeholder blocks formatted as illustrated here, then place chains in every space that those blocks are not occupying. Behind the center placeholder block for each 3x3 module, place an upper slab. After that, you can remove all of the temporary blocks except for these 3 shown here. Now grab that single copper chest that I listed in the materials description. You're going to need to place it right behind this chain next to this slab so that it's in the spot shown here. If you're building this in survival, as I'm sure you are, it's going to be in your best interest to build a temporary working platform. Set it up like this to keep things nice and simple. The method we will be using to deploy our golems is a chute-based system. You will need 3 chutes made of 3 pillars 3 blocks high with 3 upper slabs in front of the chutes. Make sure the center drop zone for your chutes is situated in the space where there are gaps between the chains. Once all 3 chutes are in place, your system should look like this. This is how we avoid minecarts, and it's worth it. In the interest of avoiding mistakes, redos, and wasted materials, I highly recommend dividing your copper blocks, carved pumpkins, and honeycomb into stacks of 11. Miscounting during this process is going to take the fun out of the whole thing. You're going to want to step forward on your platform, otherwise you're not going to be able to reach to wax them with your honeycomb. You're going to place a copper block in this space right here, then a carved pumpkin on top of that block. Reach up, move up a block, apply your honeycomb, and then break the chest out from underneath the golem. You'll repeat this process for 11 golems in each module. Once your first 11 golems have been deployed, come down off the platform, pick up any chests that have been generated by the golems. They could land just about anywhere in the chute area. Place an input chest for your upper module. Make sure it's on the opposite side, facing the opposite direction as the lower module. Then place a chain above the heads of the golems in your lower module, and then a chain on the side of this temporary block. Now we can head back up and deploy our next set of golems. Repeat just as before: copper, pumpkin, wax, break. Copper, pumpkin, wax, break. keep going till you get 11 golems. Once you've deployed the 11th golem in your top module, go ahead and place a chain above their heads, then drop back down and pick up your chests again. Now complete installation of your copper chests. Double check your chests are oriented in the correct direction with regard to whether it is an upper or lower module. Now we can install our output chests for each module. You'll want to place them one block higher than your copper chests and make sure that they are facing towards the golems in their module. Rinse and repeat for all 6 modules. The whole thing should be feeling like an intricate playground for copper golems, except not fun. Now let's complete our item flow system. For each module, you will need the output chest to hopper feed into the input chest for the next module. At the end of your upper modules, connect your output chest to the input chest down below by running 2 hopper lines straight down into that chest. If you're wondering how I came up with the idea for this system, Jeff Bezos himself came over to my house, took me by the hand and said, "Son, let me show you how to get things to sort like they should." I was like, okay, all right. Now come back to the main input-output side of your build, and we'll complete our input-output flow hopper lines. For your input hopper lines, make sure you set them up this way, ensuring your flow is correct. Double check your hopper flow to make sure that your hopper lines are connected to your input chest, like this. And do the same for your lower modules, flowing in the opposite direction. Double check your hopper flow to make sure that your hopper lines are connected to the output chest like this. Now we can get on with installing the rest of our lower golems. Nothing unexpected here. You can work on 2 modules at once now. Place 11 golems down each chute to complete deployment for your lower modules. Once they're in, come on down, pick up any copper chests that may have generated. Place your chains above their heads. And stick a chain to the side of each of these temporary blocks. Head back upstairs and complete deployment for your final 2 sets of copper golems. Once your final golem is in place, put chains above their heads. You can now go ahead and remove the temporary chutes as well as the temporary platform that you built to work from. Back downstairs, we can go ahead and remove these last temporary blocks. And with that, we can proceed with what is arguably the most important part of this process, golem positioning. You may or may not realize that within each block exists coordinates. When golems separate and aren't stacked neatly and precisely together, they will entity block one another and break the whole system. So it's imperative that we keep them neatly stacked together and don't let anything change that. It's also important that all golems are pushed together as close to their input chest as we can possibly get them. That will put them as far away from their output chest as possible. And that, my friends, along with everything else we've done here, is what is going to ensure 100% reliability and accuracy with the system. Hitting them will get you nowhere. All it's going to do is make them scatter and result in entity blocking. So for your upper modules, hop up onto the slab, step up towards your golems, and give them a little body push towards their copper chest. It doesn't take much, just this tiny nudge. Make sure all of your upper golems are pushed in this direction. And then for your downstairs golems, you're going to need to dig down 1 block beneath where they're standing, and just as before, give them a little nudge towards their copper chest, keeping in mind that it will be the opposite direction as your upper golems. Once again, just an image to illustrate, we need to have our copper golems pushed as far as possible towards their copper chest. Now it's just time for wrapping up some details. It's not important that your chests are waxed or what state of oxidation they're in. If you prefer them in a certain state, however, wax them in that state. If they've already oxidized, scrape them with an axe and wax them how you want them. If you do use copper chains and prefer them in a certain state of oxidation, I highly recommend that you pre-wax them in that state of oxidation before you even begin this build. I stick with iron chains because indecision gives me anxiety, so iron is my friend. Don't neglect to place some light source blocks in a few places that won't interfere with golem operations to prevent hostile mobs from spawning in your build. You don't want any other entities getting back here because they can body push and break your system. I like to put slabs on top of all of my exposed hoppers to avoid stray items from falling into the system. And you can decorate your system however you want, as long as it doesn't interfere with anything that your golems are doing. Don't forget that solid blocks will prevent chests from opening, so don't put any on top of these. You can use upside down stairs, upper slabs, for aesthetics if you choose. Just make sure the chest opens when you attempt to open it, or your golems won't be able to do their jobs, stomping all over the Bezos level quality sorting we strive for. Come to the front of your system, place an item frame on each chest, so that you can place items in them to help identify the categories that you've selected for each chest. I'm not going to hold your hand through how to organize a sorting system like this one. There are lots of tutorials out there that will teach you exactly how copper golems sort items, their sorting behaviors, and exactly how to categorize a system like this. You made it to the end. You're a legend. If this build solves chest skipping for you, consider subscribing. Copper golems won't be my last chaos project, and your support would mean a lot, but only if I earned it. If you feel like sticking around after the outro, there'll be a few more tidbits of information that you might find helpful, informative, or useful. Now get out there and get some copper to try this thing out. I know you all burned through all your stockpiles trying to get these things to work already. Happy building, everyone! Alexa, Echo, stop! Man. Echo! Stop! Alright, Mr. N.Cinerate. You said this thing is extendable and stackable and bendable and all that stuff. Well, heck yeah, it is. The only thing to keep in mind is that a copper golem sorter like this is inherently and primarily a one-directional per level witchback system that most naturally and simply flows from top to bottom. You could get things to go upwards, but that's just going to create a lot of complication. All you need to do to extend this system further or get it to go around corners is connect your output chest to the input chest using hoppers wherever the next area is. I'll demonstrate here how to go around a corner. You just use these hopper lines and zigzag them, and boom, you're now connected to a different set of chests going a different direction. Connect the new output chest to the input chest below, then zigzag hoppers from that direction's output chest right into the input chest at the bottom of your first system. You could probably make it a little bit faster and not so iron expensive by using a water and ice based delivery system, but I'm trying to keep this as simple as I can. Those of you who are into that kind of thing know how to do that already, I think. And how about 11 golems? Why 11? Well, because there's 11 chests available for the golems to sort through in each module. You got your 9 sorting chests, an input chest, and an output chest. Any more golems would be overkill. You just have golems standing around doing nothing. Any less, and it would be less than optimal. You'd have unnecessary downtime. Each golem increases the potential efficiency by about 10%. I think the reason that a lot of people are using just 1 or 2 golems in their systems is due to the entity blocking and cramming issues, but I've shown you exactly what causes that and how to avoid it. Another great thing about copper golem based sorting systems is that we don't have to worry about item filters getting overloaded and causing item displacement, which is what causes most clogging in most systems. I think the trade-off with copper golems is a pretty good one, given that you don't need to worry about items getting stuck or potentially lost. The only thing that's going to really break this system is if something gets back there and pushes golems out of alignment. Even then, at worst, you'll have golems standing around with items in their hands, but nothing will ever actually get lost. You should be able to go and push them back into alignment if something like that were to happen and remedy the issue pretty immediately. If you're wondering how I came up with the idea for this system, Jeff Bezos himself came over to my house, took me by the hand, and said, "Son, let me show you how to get things to sort like they should." I was like, okay, all right, let's go. But after about my 20th iteration of configuring the types and placements of blocks to get these things to properly sort chests, and I actually had a full system up and running at one point and thought that I had it figured out. But then when I rebuilt it in another place, they started skipping chests again. I accidentally, through the course of building the thing, bumped into some golems and was just awestruck when I saw them just all move as a unit down the chain. That was the aha moment, and I was like, whoa, now I get it, now I get it. And I've been wanting to share it with everyone else ever since then. Here's some footage of the system that I have in my base. I have 172 copper golems running in the background in that thing. It's not exactly a 9x6 situation as far as the chest configuration goes, but it's what my wife had built for the base that we had at the time. I just adapted it to make use of copper golems. I might experience a tiny bit of lag, but it's also on a 10-player realm, and we have some add-ons that could contribute to that. I don't really think that the copper golems are causing the lag. In any case, I really think that most people are going to be safe from lag with this system, with just the 54 chest system. It's not that resource heavy. Also keep in mind that I'm using an $800 computer that I bought off Amazon like 8 years ago, and you'd really expect it to take a much bigger hit on lag than most people's systems are going to take. So yeah, I think most people are going to be just fine making a huge copper golem system. I'm actually considering doing a live stream with my family and building the biggest copper golem sorter imaginable. I guess not that big, but a big one, just to see how it goes, to see if it lags our whole realm out or not. There's quite a few myths and guesses out there for copper golems right now. Some people feel that you need to place the chests in a certain way, like you need to place the chest that the golems can reach first or it won't work. That's not true. You can place them in any order. There's also the idea that copper golem builds have to be directional, that you need to face it north or south or east or whatever it may be. That's not the case either. Both of those myths come from people just being confused by these things. I was just as confused as everyone else, but now we know. Another thing that I like about the copper golem sorter is that it doesn't need to be chunk aligned. You don't need to worry about chunk borders at all. Again, there's no redstone logic to break across chunk borders. So yeah, you might unload some golems for a time if you step out of range, but as soon as you come back in, they'll load back up and they're still going to have the items in their hand that they had when you left, waiting to put them in chests. Anyhow, I think that's about all I've got for you guys. I appreciate you sticking around to hear me rant, and this does happen to be Thanksgiving morning, so happy Thanksgiving, everybody. If you made it this far, leave me a happy Thanksgiving in the comments, will ya? I'm not a Minecraft genius, so for my next ideas, I'm considering demonstrating how to make a music disc farm that my son and I built together. Either that or the next thing might be a quality of life improvement I made on Silent Whisper's Allay Silverfish XP farm. I couldn't deal with the constant noise those allays make, so I figured out a neat little simple improvement to be able to turn that off and on at my heart's desire. Let me know which one you'd like to see. My mouth is tired. Once again, happy building and happy Thanksgiving. Go get you some.